Hey Disney Cruisers, and welcome back to the DCL community. We are so excited tonight to be talking about such a magical option with Disney Cruise Line, European sailings. So you guys know me, I'm Rebecca. I am your admin of the DCL community, and we help you plan, prepare for, and get excited about these upcoming Disney cruises. So as you guys are coming in, let us know where you're watching from so we can say hello. And then also let us know if you have a European sailing booked, or if maybe you're thinking about one and have one that you've had your eye on. But Karen, while people are coming in, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I am Karen Shelton. I am the owner of My Path Unwinding Travel. We are an authorized Disney vacation planner. We specialize in Disney Cruise Line. We're one of the recommended travel agents for the DCL community. And we are so excited to help plan Europe. And I'm really excited to talk about European sailings today.
Yes. Oh, so many good options that I'm excited to learn. Just so you guys know, I've never done a European sailing, so I'm going to be taking notes here along with you guys. But if you guys have questions, feel free to put those in the comments throughout. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as possible. But if you have a question that's maybe a little bit more personal to you and your family, or just wanted a little bit more detail, feel free to reach out to Karen. The link is there on screen. I'll be sure to put that in the comments as well. Her planning services are totally free to you when it comes to planning these awesome Disney cruises. So use her as a resource because she is amazing, as you guys will see. So we've got somebody watching from Maryland, California. Ooh, somebody sailing out of Barcelona. Oh, so many good options. Okay, well, I guess let's go ahead and dive in.
Fantastic. So I put together a little presentation to kind of guide our way to talk about Europe. And the picture on the left is from my very first Disney cruise, which happened to be out of Barcelona on the Disney Magic Western Mediterranean. And my gosh, it must have been about 10 years ago now. That's my son, who is now 20.
Oh my gosh.
And, that really inspired our addiction to Disney Cruise Line. It helped set me on the path towards becoming a travel advisor and owning a travel agency. So I have a real fondness and excitement for Disney Cruise Line in Europe. So really excited to talk more about that today. So obviously the focus is about Disney Cruise, and this is the traditional ocean cruise liner. And starting this summer, it's going to be the Disney Dream that is sailing to Europe, and that is new. As I said, I was on the Disney Magic, and it's a little bit of a shift mentally to think about the fact that it's going to be the Disney Dream sailing to Europe now.
Yeah.
So, of course, that's what most people know is that Disney Cruise Line sails in the summer to various ports in Europe. But we'll also throw in some other Disney options to experience Europe. And at the end, we'll touch on river cruising with Adventures by Disney and expedition cruising with Adventures by Disney. And then we'll talk about the short escapes that Adventures by Disney has that combine really nicely with the Disney Cruise Line. And then the land adventures that Adventures by Disney offers to give you a more immersive guided experience. So we're going to hopefully have time to touch on all of that. So the first thing is we'll talk about Disney Cruise Line. And as I mentioned, this is aboard the Disney Dream. And these sailings start in May of each year and go through September. So they start with a transatlantic crossing, and then they end with a transatlantic westbound coming back the other way. And there are options starting next year as little as 3 nights for a little taste out of Southampton, England, all the way up to 13-night cruises. So there's just a range and really something for everybody who might be interested in Europe.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. A 13 night sounds amazing.
Right? 13 nights on board with plenty of sea days sounds like heaven to me. So, Barcelona is one of the most popular cruise ports in the Mediterranean. It's a very common cruise port, and Disney has many sailings that are 7 nights out of Barcelona that take you to France and Italy. So, this is a great way to kind of have that sampling of Europe, to go see ports in Rome, to see Naples, maybe hit Pompeii and see the ruins there, to see Florence. Really, such a great option for exploring those truly popular sites in France and Italy. There's even one 5 night option leaving from Barcelona that, sometimes people just don't have as much time as they'd like, or maybe they want to combine it with another cruise option. So that 5 night option is there.
Awesome.
And this is the one that makes me drool a little bit.
Yes.
Greece.
My God.
Ah, what a way to see Greece is on a cruise. So Disney Cruise Line has itineraries that depart from Civitavecchia, which is basically the Rome port. So you would fly into Rome and then head over to the port, because as you might realize, geographically, Rome is not on the water.
Yeah.
Just like Orlando isn't, right? So you have to travel a little ways to get to Port Canaveral. But there are 9 nights from Barcelona to Civitavecchia, an 11 night to Civitavecchia to Barcelona, and these include some Greek Isle itineraries, Greek Isles along the way. These itineraries have Naples, Athens, Mykonos, Santorini. So there's a whole bunch of different combinations. And of course, I'm happy to look at your dates and the exact destination that you want to visit. But I mean, who doesn't want to go see Santorini with that white and blue?
I was gonna say, sign me up for this one. Oh my gosh. And we have some people watching who are on this cruise, it seems like. So I would like to come with you if you.
Yes, and we want to hear back from you when you return and see your photos and hear all about it. And yeah, if you're into music, there's a great Spotify Summer in Greece playlist that has some
Ooh.
Mamma Mia inspired songs and, and other things. So,
Man.
so there's some great options there. Um, so now we have Southampton is the next departure port that we can discuss. And Southampton is outside of London. And Disney for 2024 introduced a number of new short itineraries out of Southampton. So I think those are going to be really appealing to our European friends that might just want kind of a long weekend or escape, just like many of us go down to Port
Yeah.
Canaveral.
Yeah.
Some of them might go and hop on a cruise, but we're all welcome to do that too. Anybody can come, anybody from wherever you are can go over to Southampton and go on a cruise for 3 to 5 nights that visits France, Spain, or Belgium. You might be able to combine some of these cruises to make some interesting back to backs. But then Southampton also has a 7 night British Isles itinerary and some itineraries that visit Norway and Iceland. And those also are mind blowing. What a beautiful combination to get to see the fjords and Iceland all together.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that just sounds amazing. And I know that last year, and maybe the last couple of years blend together, but they were doing those like mini, I forget what they call them. It was like a magic day at sea where it was really short sailing, like maybe 2 to 3 nights. Are they doing those?
Exactly. So I think these are kind of the next generation of those Disney Magic at Sea sailings that they had during COVID, because those sailings were kind of like cruises to nowhere where they just went out and came back.
Yeah.
And it was a way to introduce Disney Cruise Line to, a wider European audience, especially during COVID when sometimes international travel was very difficult. And so now this is the next evolution of that is some short cruises that go to some fun little places, but round trip out of Southampton.
Awesome. And we do have a question here. How far in advance to start planning? So when are itineraries open for right now?
So just about 2 weeks ago, they announced the itineraries for summer 2024. So now you can book this summer in Europe if you want to be, kind of somewhat spontaneous. There is still some availability, or definitely start looking ahead for next summer. And I would say go ahead and do that soon. Demand for Europe has been extremely, extremely high
Oh,
this
wow.
year, and for all kinds of European travel. And I expect that that's going to continue into next year because COVID really put a damper on European travel. So much was shut down for so many seasons, and everybody's really wanting to get over there. And so, if it feels a little too late to plan, for a variety of reasons, then we can plan for next summer. So, and if you're looking into 2025, then it'll probably be about a year before Disney Cruise Line announces those itineraries.
Yeah, and I'm just put a link in the comments. If you want to reach out to Karen, she can help you start planning, whether it's something for this summer or something for next year. And she's also very tuned into what has going on with Disney. So once those itineraries for 2025 come out, she can let you know so you can start working on those too, depending on when you wanted to sail. So that link is in the comments if you want to shoot her an email.
Absolutely. So the next type of European travel is the transatlantic, and that is, as we talked about, these long, extended cruises that will go eastbound all the way to Europe from Florida or back to the United States from Europe. And I really love these because the value, like the price per day on a transatlantic, is incredible. So, these are more happening in what we call the shoulder season, May and September. So, sometimes it's a more difficult time for families to travel. We see a lot of couples without kids traveling, or sometimes, kids that get out of school earlier or homeschooled can travel on these. Or parents are just to say, you know what, this is an opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah.
We'll study on the boat.
Yes, exactly. They have Wi-Fi. You'll be fine.
Yes. So right now we could do transatlantic for 2023, and we have the eastbound transatlantic for May 2024. And I know there's some folks that are waiting for the return to be announced. That will be in September 2024, but that is not available to book yet. That should probably come out with the late 2024 itineraries, probably in a few months.
Awesome.
So, we talked a few about kind of the general overview of the different types of European cruises that Disney has. And I just want to, talk about a few pointers that I'm going to throw in here and there about traveling. Because, we see a lot of talk, for just leaving out of Florida or leaving out of San Diego. What documents do I need? How do I need to plan? Definitely, a Disney cruise makes things pretty easy, but there's still some things that you have to plan for.
Yeah.
And one of them is your flights. Flights can be pricey to Europe right now. And so definitely important to look at that to, if you think you're going to use points to confirm the availability. Occasionally, we do have some tricks to book flights to Europe as travel agents in ways that you might not be able to do yourself. I can't always guarantee it, but we're always happy to check. We can book your flights through Disney Cruise Line or independently, but keep in mind that traveling to Europe takes a while. So almost always you're going to leave on one day and get there the next morning. So you really
Mhm.
need to consider your travel time. And we always, always recommend arriving a day early. So if your cruise departs on a Saturday, we would recommend leaving the States on a Thursday. That would get you into, let's say, Spain or England on Friday. And then you have time to adjust and board the ship on time on Saturday without any problems. And that just allows for any delays or hiccups.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that
And
would be so sad to get all the way there and miss the ship because
ex-
of some little delay. Oh,
exactly. And I think the vast majority of people do that even for local itineraries, out of Florida. But always good to remember that, European travel can be tricky, especially if you have a connection. You just don't want to take any chances. Um, Always remember that, baggage is important. Keep your, people lose baggage. Last summer, there was quite a mess in different
mhm.
airports with baggage getting lost and delayed. To always keep your important things with you. There's a lot of resources for just traveling with carry-on only, and that is our goal when we go to Greece this summer, is to not check any bags. So I will let you know if
Ooh,
we're successful.
yes.
But I'm very optimistic because we'd rather, pack lighter, maybe have to do a little laundry there than check a bag and have that worry.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
that's a lofty goal. I commend you for it. I don't think I could do it, but
you
oh,
know what? There's a whole Facebook community dedicated just to that.
wow. Oh, the things you can learn online. I love
Right?
it. I
Right?
also love that so if you're watching right now and you're starting to get overwhelmed with options, or you're just thinking, I know this is just kind of the start of the presentation, but there's still so much left to cover. If you need help with flights and hotels and the cruise and putting all this together, that's where someone like Karen, a travel expert, can come in and kind of help you budget to put all those pieces together so it doesn't feel like everything is falling on your shoulders. So just a little bit of peace of mind.
Exactly, because your vacation shouldn't start out with like so much stress and worry.
Mm.
That's why it's nice to have a professional on your side. And the nice thing about working with Disney Cruise Line is that they do offer the hotels in your departure port. And, each departure port will usually have two options for a hotel to choose. And they'll offer the transfers. So, when you get in that early day ahead, they'll pick you up, they'll take you to that hotel, and then they'll take you to the port for your cruise. And at the end, they'll take you back to the airport or take you back to the hotel if you're extending your stay. So
Awesome.
there's some, ease there. And Disney can do it all. But if there's some parts that, maybe you want to do a different hotel, or you want to extend and go, you know, hop over to a different country, then we can also help with that.
Awesome.
So, want to talk about port adventures because, of course, that is why we're there. The ship is great, but you can experience the ship out of, the United States. But we're there to immerse ourselves in new destinations and, history and culture and art and landscapes and food, food, food. So, although the food on Disney is amazing, always encourage people, take the time to eat in all the locations that you can. And so think about planning your port adventures. Disney has a wide range of port adventures that are available in every port, and these are bookable just in the same way that you can book, any other cruise. So it's according to your Castaway Club status.
Awesome.
Those who are sailing in concierge do get to put in their requests at 130 days prior to sailing, which is ahead of every other Castaway Club level, including Pearl, the newest level. So, whatever your level is, that's when your booking window will open to plan your port adventures. But I also want to say that, there's other options. I know there's security in booking your port adventures through Disney Cruise Line, but we do work with a couple of companies that we really trust to provide you some different experiences in in port to have some different types of shore excursions. And I'm
Ooh,
happy to share, links and ideas. If you have a group, you can do a private group sometimes. And a
ooh,
lot of times this just gets you moving a little quicker because, those of you who have sailed with Disney before and have done a port adventure know that they usually have you kind of meet up in a lounge and wait till everybody gets there, and then they gather you up with
mhm.
your little group of Donald or Ariel or whoever, and then you get off the ship. And so it can take a little while. If you do a private shore excursion through a third company, you might be in a group, but a lot of times the groups can be smaller, or you can book an actual private just for your family. And you get off the ship and they're there, and you're on your way. So sometimes it can be more efficient with time. And the partners that we work with do guarantee that you will return to the ship in time. So they have that same, ship guarantee, that everybody that Disney has. So they will make sure that you're in good hands. And so if there's an option that you're like, oh, this doesn't quite fit the bill for me, just know that there's some other options out there to check out.
Yeah, that's such a good point. So I feel like so often people are so concerned about only booking what Disney has to offer, but there is so much more to do. So if you want to just have a how to eat around Greece tour, I'm sure that there's an option. So you can make the cruise and your port adventure is exactly what you want. I love that.
Exactly. And, a lot of times there's just, you don't think about, well, what am I going to do when I get to Barcelona or when I get to London or when I get to Rome? Because Disney doesn't really offer port adventures for that, the port that you're departing from. So that's another option. If you're there a day early, you could do a food tour, you could go do a golf cart tour around Rome. There's just so many really neat, unique things that we have as options.
Okay.
So, cruise line is fantastic, but sometimes in Europe, we envision something more intimate, something smaller. We don't want to be part of a ship of 4,000 passengers all getting off together at the same port. And uh, Adventures by Disney River Cruising is another way of experiencing Europe with the service and quality of Disney, um, elevated, elevated, elevated. I think we have another recording somewhere, Rebecca, that we did, just dedicated to Adventures by
Yeah.
Disney River Cruising, and you can find that in the Disney Cruise Line community. But it's worth talking about here that when you sail on the ocean liners, they can only get so close and, to certain locations. So, if you're going to Rome, as we said before, the ship is about, maybe an hour and a half away at the port from Rome.
Wow.
So, you have that travel time to go back and forth. When you're on a river cruise, you literally step off the river cruise and you are in the town. Rivers were the original highways of Europe, and you are just right there immersed in France, Germany, um, uh, all Hungary, different countries on the Rhine, the Seine,
Ooh,
and the Danube rivers. So this is a unique way that a lot of people just don't even know exists,
yeah.
because it's a relatively new product, and Disney does not advertise Adventures by Disney a lot. So these are really small, like 150 guests aboard these river cruises. They're
Wow.
only, they're offered during the summer, but they do have some Christmas market options and some options in the fall that are adults only. So this is also a way if you want to travel to Europe with Disney at a different season. And these are really inclusive. So whereas on the Disney Cruise Line, you're paying for transfers, internet, alcohol, port adventures, gratuities. Those are all additional charges. On Adventures by Disney River Cruising, those are all included in your fare.
Wow.
So it's really something to keep in mind, because there's an amazing value, and again, just a different pace and very family friendly. It's no longer where river cruising is just for your grandparents.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So it sounds like if you know you want to be on a boat or ship of types, you have options depending on exactly where you want to go and how much you kind of want to dig into the culture. So just talk that through with Karen on what might be best for you and your family.
Absolutely. And there is another option that's very new to Europe, and that is the Adventures by Disney expedition cruises. So I would say this kind of falls in the middle between the river cruises and the Disney Cruise Line in terms of the size. So these are small luxury ships. They're bigger than the river cruises, but smaller than the Disney Dream, of course. And starting this year, we have an expedition cruise that is leaving from Oslo and going to the Arctic Circle. So I'm going to include that in a European option.
Yeah.
And in 2024, it is nearly sold out. There is the Adriatic Expedition Cruise, and that is the most beautiful, stunning option going out of Venice to Croatia and Montenegro. So if you're interested
Ooh.
in sailing to Croatia, that's such a great way to experience it. You can now do it with Disney via Adventures by Disney and their partnership with Ponant. So they fully charter the Ponant ship, and it can take you to these amazing new destinations.
Wow. Oh, that sounds so cool. I would lose it if I saw a polar bear in the wild. Polar bears are so cool. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, and we had a question about age restriction for river cruising. 12-year-olds are definitely welcome, Valentina. The age, I think the minimum age, I think, is now 4. I think it started out as 5 or 6, recommended 8, but they actually lowered it a little bit. And when I was on the Danube River cruise, we definitely had a couple of littles, 4 and 5, that did great. And but children really of all ages, from school age on up to college level, college age kids. A river cruise is a great option for multi-generational travel as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember you saying, and I'll grab the link to the Adventures by Disney River Cruises event that we did. But I think I remember you saying that the kids get really, really close because they have their own kind of entertainment and activities, just like a Disney cruise. But, it's just like you're saying, a little bit more of an intimate experience with a smaller group. So they can kind of you can have your cake and eat it too. And you might be muted now.
I sure am. Okay. So I wanted to mention the Adventures by Disney Short Escapes because these were designed to add on to either the Disney Cruise Line itineraries or the Adventures by Disney River Cruise itineraries. So, as we said, you go to Barcelona or you go to Rome and you're like, you know what? There's no port adventures because this is where I'm getting on the ship. Well, Disney has solved that problem for you with Adventures by Disney. These are 2 and 3 night guided vacations that are either before or after select sailings, and they just take care of everything for you and make sure that you have the highest level of service to experience the important sights and sounds and tastes of that destination. So they will pick you up from the airport, they'll bring you to the hotel, and they have your 2 or 3 days of experiences all planned out for you in these cities. So
Oh, that just sounds so wonderful getting to experience. So I know I'm sitting here thinking I would love to spend a month in Greece or a month in London, but this is a great way to spend a little bit more time there, really get to know the place that you're leaving from, and then get to experience the cruise.
exactly. So, and in some of the cases, it's after the cruise as well. So it gives you those options. They're not available for every destination, but think of it as like a 2-day port adventure almost. These are pretty expensive, but you are just in the best hands with the legendary adventure guides and that Disney level of service.
Yeah. And I know we'll get the question about Disneyland Paris.
Yes. So that is a great question. And when you book certain Adventures by Disney itineraries, they do have an option of extending in Disneyland Paris. So, for
Ooh.
example, it's a good segue to talk about Adventures by Disneyland vacations. So, let's just say, you know what, I really want to explore London and Paris more. I don't want to just be there for a day, each. I really want to dive in and spend more time there. So you could choose the England and France Adventures by Disneyland tour, which is a guided vacation, completely separate from cruise. And then at the end, after you spend 3 nights in Paris, they have optional add ons from 2 to 4 nights.
Ooh. Yeah, that just sounds amazing. I know we've all been there with dogs barking in the back. That happened to me the other day, actually. So no worries. Um, Gosh, these pictures just look breathtaking.
Yeah, so thank you for your patience with that, with the dogs going by.
Mm,
So, but yeah, so there are options, and of course, if you're already in Europe, that's something that we can also assist with, which is to, even if you're not going to do Adventures by Disney, we can assist with you booking that Disneyland Paris experience as an add-on to anything that you're already doing, and help with, we have the ability to help you with trains, planes, transfers, hotels, excursions, all of that, so that you're making the most of your time. And also to kind of rein you in, because sometimes we have clients that are like, okay, well, I'm already there, so I want to see
yeah.
5 countries. And, sometimes I suggest, let's slow it down and really, you don't want to have to be packing and unpacking all the time
Yes.
and to make the most of your trip.
Yes.
So those are some, many different ways of experiencing Europe with Disney. And then I just wanted to throw in some different reminders again to kind of bring it back around. The most important is passports. So, as I mentioned before, if you're just cruising out of the Bahamas on a round trip cruise out of Florida, you do not need a passport. But if you're sailing on any cruise out of Europe, you absolutely 100% need a passport book, not a passport card, not a birth certificate and a driver's license. And this is for
Mm,
every passenger, regardless of their age. So if you're thinking about sailing to Europe, let's say next summer, I would strongly suggest opening up your passport, locating it
yes.
now,
Yep.
checking the expiration date, look at the date that you want to travel, the last date that you'll be in Europe, add 6 months to it, and make sure that your passport is going to remain valid. If not, it's time to work on that now, because passport processing is taking quite a bit of time.
Yes.
So that's so important. We talked about arriving a day early. Of course, that's super important. Travel insurance. I have to really talk about the importance of travel insurance, especially when you're leaving the US. 99% of health insurance that most people have will not cover you for medical reasons outside of the United States. So, if once you get on the ship, once you get on a plane and fly over the pond to Europe, your health insurance is not going to help. And depending, a lot of countries in Europe are pretty generous, but it's really helpful to have that policy just in case. And it also helps with emergency evacuation if needed. And it helps, of course, with cancellation if you have to cancel or interrupt your trip and fly home sooner because an accident happened and you won't be able to enjoy the rest of your trip, or something, happened at home that demands your attention. So travel insurance is just such an important part of your planning. And while Disney Cruise Line does have their own vacation protection, when you work with a travel advisor, we usually are able to compare some other plans that can save you a significant amount of money.
And still get the same coverage, still get the same level of coverage, but just potentially for a little bit less.
So the
right?
main benefit that Disney Cruise Line Vacation Protection has is cancel for any reason coverage. And what that means is that if you cancel and your claim is denied because, you just decided that, you know, you don't like your sister-in-law, don't want to cruise with her anymore, and you're not going, insurance is not going to cover that. But the cancel for any reason will give you a future cruise credit of 75% of your cruise fare. So it's not a full reimbursement like it would be otherwise.
Got it. Oh, good to know. And as we're going through this, guys, if this is a great time. If you have any questions about sailing through Europe, whether it's with Disney, Adventures by Disney, put those questions in the comments now so we can make sure to get to them as we're finishing this up.
So, and of course, my last tip, and Rebecca, you've been so good about I'm just going to get this little one in the shot here. So
Oh,
you've been so good about talking about this throughout and in the DCL community is really, this is an important trip. Use a travel advisor. Facebook is amazing. There's so much information sharing that goes on, but occasionally there's information that's out of date or just plain inaccurate or not personalized to your situation. So, this is the kind of vacation that is worth working with a travel advisor. Our team at My Path Unwinding Travel, we work with Disney Cruise Line and Adventures by Disney day in and day out. And, we've worked with some of you already, and we're really happy to meet more of you and answer your questions and hope that we can get you to Europe.
yes. Oh my gosh. This just sounds amazing. And reminder, guys, Karen's services are totally free to you to use. So if you're thinking about the Disney cruise and you're thinking about hotels now and transfers and all these moving parts, reach out to her. She is here to help. So I did see a question that came in about best excursions. Do you have any excursions that you recommend based on your experience or any of your clients?
I mean, are so many, and it's just really going to depend on your itinerary. So, where you are going. And I am going to update my listing on the DCL community website with maybe a little short blog post about that, Rebecca, with a
Awesome.
link to the company that we also recommend to compare because we have just so many options. Of course, I'm just always about food. So, anytime if you're in Barcelona, I would say, go to the market, do a food tour there, taste the jamon iberica, taste the churros y chocolate. If
Oh,
you're in Rome, do a cooking class, make pizza, make pasta. I love everything that is, has to do with food and and those kinds of things, but there's just so many options depending on your group. Do you want to be more active? Do you want to be driven around? So we'll have to just look at what's customized for your specific vacation.
awesome. And that's a great segue into this next question. Are these cruises good for kids?
Oh my gosh. So, remember that first slide that I put on there with my little son, when he was, gosh, I think he actually was like 9 then when I think about
Oh,
it. And I specifically chose Disney because I really wanted to take him to Europe and to Europe with my family, but I wasn't sure how he would do maybe seeing churches or ruins or whatever, some of the things that you think about in Europe. And the amazing thing about sailing with Disney is, first of all, even when you're out doing port adventures, you're doing it with other families, right? So, you're making friends on and off the ship. And there's so many family friendly excursions and things to do to keep the kids really interested. And then when you come back on board, you're on a Disney cruise. So, so it
yes.
really is the best of both worlds. And, I think about, one of the questions that I hear is my child old enough to do this? And, that's definitely something to keep in mind because it's a long trip. There's jet lag and, there's long days when you're in Europe. When you're in ports, you want to make the most of it and really see as much as you can see. But on the other hand, the memories that you make as a family, are really ageless. So, whether you're traveling with a little one that maybe might not remember everything, but they're going to have the pictures and the stories. So I'm always the one to say, take the trip.
Mm.
Because it sets the stage. I mean, I don't think anybody ever regrets like starting sooner. If anything, I wish that I had taken my first Disney cruise sooner, that I had done my first Adventures by Disney sooner. Those are my
Yeah.
regrets. I don't regret, taking them when they were 8 years old. So,
Yes, right. There's so many memories and experiences to have that it's better to just take the trip, just like you said. And somebody said, you mentioned so many great options. How do I know which one is best?
so you know what? I mean, really, that's something to have a conversation with us about is, what are your interests? What types of things does your family like to do? Sometimes it's even like, okay, my child is really, really, you know, enthralled with Frozen. So maybe we want to do an itinerary that includes Norway, if you want to have a
Ooh,
Disney connection there, because of course there's going to be those Disney tie-ins to a lot of these European destinations. Some of it is budget and timing. So, you have to look at your schedule, look at when these itineraries leave. Um, a Disney cruise you could be in an inside stateroom or you could be in the royal suite. So it really is going to just depend on, the combination of what's available, your timing, and, what, uh, do you want to make sure that you have a couple of days at sea on your itinerary, or do you want it to be more port intensive? So there's just a lot of things to have that discussion and figure out what the right match is.
right. And I'm sitting here thinking, gosh, I want to adventure in all of these ports, but I want to stay on the ship as much as possible too. So how do I do both at the same time with a Disney cruise in Europe? And it sounds like a back-to-back Disney cruise in Europe might be in my future.
Very exactly. Or you know what? Or just, I think most of the itineraries will have, probably 2 sea days if you're at least on board for, 7 days. And that gives you that break because, your days in port, as I said, usually are kind of long. Hopefully they are, right? You want to fill them up with experiences and then you can relax on board the ship when you're, on those sea days. Go to
Yeah.
the spa or, whatever, sleep in a little bit.
Yeah. And we'll make this the last question for the day. This would be my first Disney cruise. Is it better to do Europe or should I do something in the US?
Again, that, my very first Disney cruise was in Europe and that hooked me. So I really think it just depends on your family, what your cruise experience is. Have you sailed with other cruise lines and what will really excite you and get your whole family, motivated because, there's no wrong answer there.
Yes.
Always encourage everybody to experience Europe and beyond when they're ready. And you just have to decide, when are you ready?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I am ready to explore Europe on a Disney cruise right now. Um, these pictures just looked amazing. So I know I have some digging in for, you said itineraries through 2024, summer 24 are out
Summer
right
2024 are out. Let me point out that we're out for Disney Cruise Line Europe, summer 2024. Adventures by Disney River Cruise 2024 are out. Adventures by Disney Expedition Cruise for 2024 are out. What
now.
we don't have yet are the land adventures. We have the short escapes for summer 2024 that go with the cruises, but the longer land adventures that go to England, France, Spain, Central Europe, Italy, 3 different versions in Italy, Greece, which is the one I'm going to this summer. All of those around the whole world, not just Europe, are not out yet for summer 2024. They
Ooh,
usually come out sometime in May.
okay.
And if you're interested, again, this summer, we still have room. There is availability on all of those options. And Adventures by Disney has an air offer right now. If you book an Adventures by Disney for this summer, there's a discount on your airfare. I know for domestic it was 350. I don't remember the exact number for international, but that's
Wow.
definitely something that we can look into because since air is kind of the sticking point right now for a lot of people that will help if
Yes.
you're considering a European trip for this year.
Wow. Okay. So lots of good options if you want to see Europe, and if you want to start planning now for this summer or next summer, you have options. But thank you guys so much for joining. I'm going to put Karen's contact information in the comments again, so feel free to reach out to her. Her and her team are here to help you with anything that you may need when it comes to planning that perfect Disney cruise. And Karen, thank you so much for your time tonight, and we will see you guys all on board. Bye all.
Bye bye.